And my mom said, okay, I love you. I said, hold up, wait a minute. Wait, what? Like, did you actually just say that? Like, did that just come out of your... I remember freezing. I remember just kind of being taken aback. I love you. You love me. We are a happy family. With a big bowl of fufu and a kiss from me to you. Mwah. Won't you say you love me too? Welcome back to Between Two Worlds with Dr. Phebe. Well, we're over here just bridging the gap, right? Immigrant edition. And the podcast where we translate what your parents meant, even when they didn't have the vocabulary. I'm your host, Dr. Phebe Brako. I'm a therapist, immigrant daughter, and a professional decoder of emotionally constipated love. Today's episode is from the parents' perspective because sometimes the truth is not they didn't love us. It is they loved us in a language that we didn't really understand. Today's episode is called I Love You. I just don't know how to say it. So growing up, right? A little story time. Growing up, my parents, especially my mom, I would say, she didn't say things like, I love you, right? I still remember the very first time that I heard my mother say, I love you. And it was when I moved away, actually, and went to college. And even though she didn't say, I love you, she would say things like, have you eaten? Did you eat today? You need to wear a sweater. Right? She would also say things like, call me when you get there. Because at my big age, if I get somewhere or I'm going somewhere and I don't tell my mom when I've made it there, trust me, I will be getting a phone call or a text. Did you make it there? Right? And so I've even learned, a little sidebar here. I've learned to actually set up my iPhone to where my mom gets a text when I'm going to the office, have it just set automatically because sometimes I'll be on the phone or I'll be listening to an audiobook or something like that and I'll forget. And you know what? I don't want to deal with Mama Sissy. I really don't, right? Even though she didn't say, I love you directly, she would say things like, who is driving? Who are you going with? Right? And I still remember being in college and one of the very first phone calls that I had with her. And I've moved out of Ghana. I've come to the U.S. I am fresh in school. We're having this conversation, and I say to her, I'll talk to you later. Blah blah blah. We're going on and on. I know you all can remember have some fond memories or remember those conversations we have with our parents when we first, leave. And my mom said, "Okay, I love you." I said, hold up, wait a minute. Wait, what? Like, did you actually just say that? Like, did that just come out of your... I remember freezing. I remember just kind of being taken aback, right? Because if I ever said to my mother, you never say that you love me, right? You never say I love you because I would have read about that or experienced that in, these Western movies and things like that. My mom would probably say, after all I've done for you, you want English words. Like, ma'am, apparently, tuition is the love language for our parents sometimes, right? Because I paid your school fees, I gave you a place to sleep, I took you to America. What else do you want to hear from me, right? So let's step into our parents' shoes for a minute. And I know that this can be really hard for us when we aren't really having these kinds of conversations with our parents in the first place, right? The first thing for us to really think about is that a lot of our parents were raised without the words, I love you, right? Many of our immigrant parents grew up in survival mode. Nobody was sitting around and saying, I affirm your emotional experience. I see you. I hear where you're coming from, right? Their parents showed love through sacrifice. Their parents showed love in taking care of them, right? Because that is how love has been defined for many of us culturally. And it wasn't just like softness where people are, hugging and loving and all that. And we saw a lot of that in our on TV, right, in our media. So when you ask your parents, your immigrant parents, to say something like "I love you," it feels very unnatural, right? Because for them, love is the action, love is the behavior, it's the things, it's the obligations, right? It also feels vulnerable, right? It makes them probably feel exposed. And I'm also going to say this as a parent, because like a lot of times vulnerability is not something that is encouraged in our generation. Now, I have gotten into the habit of being able to say I love you a lot to my children, right? But it's also because I've done a lot of work around vulnerability, right? And so when something is not encouraged in your generation, to where you're saying these words outwardly, and you're being soft in different ways, it's very different, right? It's not the standard, it's not the status quo, right? And as I was even thinking about this, like I was saying before, love was action, and it's not just words. So for our parents, love has looked like working double shifts, sending money back home, right? Which in itself can be such a touchy subject, because you think about how our parents are struggling so much living away from home. They're working really hard. You see them struggling with, going to sleep, waking up on time, sometimes working several jobs and things like that. And they're just sending all this money home. And it's like, wait, like, are you going to keep any for yourself, or are you going to save some for yourself, right? But that is what love looks like for us, and in many cultures too. For our parents, it has also looked like never taking a vacation, right? And making sure that that money that would have been used for a vacation was put aside, and it was saved for the college fund or whatever it is, for the car. And sometimes it has looked like our parents also skipping their own dreams. One of the things that I've realized is that when we talk to our parents, we learn so much about them, and dreams that we would not have even imagined that they would have. And sometimes you think about it and you're like, wait, like that was it? Like, this is what you wanted to do? And then there's other times that it will blow your mind, where they tell you about a dream that they had, and it's like, wow, I'm so sorry that you weren't able to realize that dream. Now, a minor-ish dream that I remember talking to my own mother about was her wanting a kitchen island. I said, wait, what? She said, yeah, I've always wanted a kitchen island. And so when we moved into a house where there was a kitchen island, my day was made. I was so excited because I got to have that, right? And she didn't get to have that in the house that we were growing up in, right? And for a lot of our parents too, there's this mindset, right, that they left their entire country for us, right? Like, I left my whole country for you. What other proof of love do you need? Because to them, that is love. It's the action. And at the same time, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, well, a hug every now and then would be nice, right? There's two valid languages here, but there's no translator. Another thing too is that with our parents, is that there is this fear of losing authority, because in a lot of cultures we have a hierarchy, and in some cultures, emotional softness might feel like a loss of respect in some ways. And I know it might sound wild to kind of think about it that way, but if you were to actually talk to your parents or talk to people from like the older generations, you would understand some of this stuff, right? And so if our parents say things like, I'm proud of you, I love you, I'm sorry, like, I don't know how many parents say that, but it feels like there's a lowering of a shield. And and for many people who have had to be strong their entire lives, shields are survival, right? And the shields have played a role, an important role. and you think about the journey that parents go through, the journey that they take to get to where they are, and to be able to have the lives that they do, and to be able to give their children those lives too, that shield, it has to stay up for a lot of reasons. So here is the hard truth also. Many immigrant parents are, for lack of a better term, emotionally illiterate, right? Not because they don't feel deeply, but because no one ever really taught them how to express their emotions safely. And I know for my culture, like, we're not an emotionally like heavy culture. And that's one of the things that I had to get used to when I moved to America, right? We have emotion, but the ways in which we're going to express them and talk about them, very, 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 very different, right? So our parents were not necessarily taught to express some of these things the way that we have gotten used to them, or the way that we see in media, or the ways that, like, our needs are changing too generationally, right? And so, you grew up in a culture that says, use your words, name your feelings, communicate directly, and all of those things. And so for you as an immigrant child, or a child who is growing up away from their parents' home country, you're asking for verbal affection from people who were taught that love is proven, right? And not spoken. So you can see here that there's two different like languages being spoken, and both of them are valid, right? I'm not saying one is better than the other, or that one is more important than the other. The thing is that gap that exists, that is where resentment starts to grow. And as a therapist, sometimes when I'm working with couples, or when I've worked with couples in the past, I'll talk to them about, different love languages. And I know that that's a very controversial topic in our, I don't know, therapy field, pop psychology, all that stuff. But I talk to them about how, when it comes to showing love, it's like asking for potatoes, right? And you might be asking your partner for French fries, but they continue to give you hash browns or mashed potatoes. Are they both potatoes? Absolutely. But it's not the same thing, right? And so before you realize there's this resentment that's growing, because one person is saying, I keep asking you for French fries and you keep giving me hash browns. And then the other person is like, well, I'm giving you hash browns. They're potatoes too, right? And then there's this like gap. And there's this miscommunication that happens. There's this piece of like a lack of understanding, right? At the same time, this is also where repair can happen. And that is part of why we're having this conversation, right? That's part of why we're having these kinds of, talks about the fact that love is going to look different for all of us. So here is this week's Bridge the Gap tip. I want to encourage you to expand your definition of I love you. So if you are the child, right, I want you to start noticing how your parents already say it. Sometimes it's through food. One of my favorite moments in the day is when my mom would text me and say, Phoebe, food is ready. I'm like, oh yes, home cooked meal, right? Because a lot of times I'm working and I have forgotten to eat, which is a very, very, very bad habit. Okay. Like, I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm a therapist, I'm a clinician and all that stuff, but sometimes I'm a workaholic too, right? So I'll be working, I get really focused and I'm on it and I will forget. And then my mom would text me, won't you come and eat? Oh, it's like music to my ears. Or she'll say, the jollof is ready. The banku is ready. Oh, I love it. Love it, right? And so for me, that is one of the ways in which I know that love is there. Also notice even things like money, right? Your parents are I don't know, paying your tuition, or they're giving you some, $10 here. Hey, go and buy something for me. And that it's $50, but then they gave you 60, and it's like, oh, hey, here's a change, and oh, keep the change, or just put it down for me. It's one of the most like glorious things. Now, I'm not gonna lie. When I was younger, I used to go to the market a lot. I started going to the market, I think I was maybe in like 4th, 5th grade, I think. So I go to the market, and I had to write a list of groceries that I had to go buy. And I knew very well, right? I went to the market enough to know that, for example, maybe this particular item is like $1. I'd put like $1.50, right? And then I would add it up. My mom would say, add it up. And then I would tell her, okay, it's equivalent, right? We used to spend CDs in Ghana. But just for relatability, I'm going to use dollars. So I would say, oh, okay, the total is $57. And she'd say, okay. And she would give me the $57. And I know very well that it's like $50. So, I'll be pocketing. I'm like telling on myself. I would pocket the $7. And I learned that my mother knew, right? But she wouldn't ask questions because I thought I was slick. And I learned my mom was slicker. So sometimes, she would end up going with me to the market. And as we're paying for stuff, she would look at me and say, I thought you said this was $2. The lady just said it's $1. What are you talking about, right? But just the way that she would let it slide. We used to call it chobo in Ghana. She would let it slide that I would be taking this chobo from her. That was love, right? And I didn't realize that until later. And when I think about it, I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the things that makes me sad when I think about those days as a teenager, especially when I thought my mother did not love me. Another way in which our parents will express love is through worry. At my big age, when I go out, my mother will text me and say, hey, it's getting kind of late. Are you coming home soon? And sometimes it feels overbearing because it's like, listen, I'm a grown woman. I'm going to do what I want to do. But I'm still her child. I'm still her baby, right? And so our parents are going to show that love through worry. They're going to show it also through sacrifice, right? Our parents could be taking vacations. They could be doing all these fun things and whatever. Maybe they don't even know that they can do those things, and we have to teach them that vacations, are a necessity sometimes, taking time off. But they're not taking the time off. They're working so hard, and that is a way in which they're showing that love through sacrifice. And yes, I know that there's a generation of us who are also thinking, well, I didn't ask you to. And I would push back against that. Yes, we didn't ask them to. Absolutely. And those are some of the ways in which they know how to give us love. So if you're the parent and you're watching or you're listening, I want you to also practice one small phrase this week. I'm not asking for a speech. I'm not asking for a poem. I'm not asking you to do anything like that. Just simple words like, I'm proud of you. Simple, straight up, I'm proud of you. Simple words like, I'm glad you're my child. Now, I know that these words are going to be uncomfortable, right? And your children also need to hear these things from you, because we're making an assumption that our children know these things about us, or they know these things just because. But there's a gap here, and I'm here to help us fill that gap. So simple words like, I am glad you're my child. I am blessed to have you as my child. Or saying things like, I love you. It's going to feel awkward, I know, but say it anyway. Emotional fluency is a learned skill, and it's never too late. These are things that we're going to have to learn to do. I learned to start saying I'm sorry to my kids. And it is something that has really changed our relationship. And yes, my children are very young, right? My children are all under 10. And the beautiful thing about that is that I'm modeling it too. So if we want to see certain things from our children, we need to be also brave enough to show them what that looks like, right? And so, auntie, it's never too late, okay? Uncle, it's never too late. Sometimes it's just, I'm proud of you. That's it. That is all we're asking, because you might be showing it and your children need to hear it from you. Okay. So today's episode is about love, specifically the way in which immigrant parents express it, right? Sometimes through food, sometimes through worry, sometimes through reminding you that you need to call when you get somewhere or when you arrive somewhere. So for this conversation, I invited someone who has shown me love in about 1,000 ways. Even if I love you wasn't always the exact frame that was used. My mom is here today to help us unpack this from the parent perspective. Mama, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
All right. It's nice to see you here. And one of the things that I'm curious about, I know grandma, mommy, your mom is no longer here with us. And so one of the things that I would like to ask you is, did your parents ever say, I love you?
Ghanaian parents, some. My parents or my mom didn't say I love you because she didn't understand that word in our language.
Right.
She would say, oh, meadow. Yeah. But if you do something good,
yeah,
like you help her in the market, in the house, help her cooking, she will appreciate you.
Right.
But instead of saying I love you,
right,
for helping, she will just say, you've done well.
Right.
You've done well. Yeah. But not I love you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not I love you. She will appreciate you.
Yeah.
In a way. At times she will just shake your hand. Shake your hand.
Yeah.
Or just tap you. Oh, you've done well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in our language of Akan, I love you is middle. Right. And even for me, one of the things that I'm wondering for you is whether you remember, like, is that something that you would say to me as a child? Do you remember saying that to me as a child? Or do you remember, when or the first time you said that to me?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I remember the time I gave birth to you at the hospital. When the nurse brought you, I just held you. I said, oh, I gave you a kiss on your cheek. And I said, I love you, my baby girl. And apart from that, I will show love to you by feeding you. Appreciate what you do to me or for me.
Yeah.
You help me. I do care.
Right.
I sacrifice for you.
Yeah.
Sending you to a good school.
Yes.
International school.
Yes, I went to Soul Clinic.
Soul Clinic, yes. Oh,
and
yes, of course.
It was not cheap. I remember that so well.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't expensive.
Yeah.
But I tried. And from kindergarten, nursery
Yes.
to kindergarten,
Yeah.
It was a good school.
Yeah.
That you attended. And I show love. Even when you pass your JSS,
The BC.
BEC, you went to Ghana, we will call it secondary school.
Yeah.
I did my best.
Yeah.
I drove from Accra to Cape Coast.
Which was about how many hours?
I can't remember, but it was far.
Yeah, maybe about 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 because of traffic,
more.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I show love.
Yeah.
I send you food every weekend.
No, hold on. It wasn't every weekend. It wasn't every weekend. No, 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 no.
No, I thought that it was good.
I mean, it was good. It just wasn't every
I do
weekend.
come and visit you.
Yes, you would come visit.
Yes,
I
I
remember.
come visit, especially speech day.
Yes,
and visiting
Saturdays.
Saturdays.
Because so for context, I went to a boarding school, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so with the boarding school, you had to stay there. You couldn't leave, and so you would. I remember you would. It was one of the best days of my week.
Yeah, but I forgot when you were a baby and you are crying.
Yeah.
I will just carry you, and there is a song I always sing for you, baby little girl. Don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, and you'll be smiling.
Yeah.
Like you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good. I show love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
And I think also for a lot of us, not to cut you off, but for a lot of us too, what we're realizing is that for our parents, the I love you may not have been in the words, but it came through the actions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I'm a grandma. Grandma.
Yeah.
I've been helping you, showing love to you and the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kids I've been helping.
Yeah.
So I always love you.
Yeah.
I always love you. And I'm proud of you.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I love you too.
Love you.
and I remember, I love that you said that you told me that, as a baby. Of course, I don't have any memories of that. Although I've heard the stories of my birth and how you almost had me in the toilet. Now we will talk about that in the book, okay? We will talk about that in the book. But I remember a moment that I remember was the first time I heard you say I love you, right? And even in that, I think I heard you say love you, and I think that's what you still say, because I think when you add the I, there's a level of vulnerability that I think sometimes it might be a little uncomfortable to say that. Is that right? When you say the I, yeah. Is it uncomfortable?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought so.
I feel comfortable.
Well, I think that it's also not something that we say very readily in our culture, right? Saying I love you from parent to child or child to parent. It's not very common. I mean, yes, there are families who do that, right? But I remember the very first time, my memory in terms of hearing those words was when I came to Salem. When I came to Salem College in the US after I had left. And it was just me, and you saw me off at the airport. And I remember, one of the moments that stands out to me when you said I love you was you called. You called me one time in my room. And I think it was maybe the first phone call that we had after I got my phone in my room.
Yeah.
And before I hung up, you said, okay, I love you.
I love you. Yeah,
and
I remember.
I remember just freezing in that moment. Like, hold up, wait a minute. Did I just hear that? Did my mother just say that I love you? And as a teenager, you don't realize some of these things because you think that love has to look a certain way. And then you get older and you realize love is more than just words.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people can say I love you, but then they might not necessarily mean or understand or like have the actions to back those words. And so I think what I've learned from a lot of immigrant parents and African parents is that love is in action. It's in when you're asking me, have you eaten?
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things that I love about my mom, right? That I will always appreciate not only the fact that like you cook so well, but a lot of times I work so much and I will be upstairs working and I will forget to eat, right? I forget to eat.
I will come and
then,
ask you,
yes,
have you eaten?
Have you
Or
eaten?
won't you eat?
Won't you eat? And you say, hey, I will, won't you eat? And awo is a term of endearment for us, for both of us, where it's, I think as I'm getting older too, we've started calling each other that because it's like a woman to woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you will come and ask, have you eaten? And I'll be like, oh no, I actually haven't.
I say, come and eat.
Right. And that is one of the ways in which I know that you love me. Right. And I see that even with you as a grandma now, seeing how you interact with the boys.
Yeah.
Right. Seeing how you're patient with them. And sometimes in our generation, right, the millennial parents, we talk about how we see our parents becoming a different version of themselves when they become grandparents, because there's a certain level of gentleness that you have with the grandchildren that maybe you didn't have with me. But as
Yeah,
I've
of
gotten
course.
older, I've understood why, right? Just getting the context of what it was like to be a woman like yourself, a working woman with 3 children that you were raising because, dad was gone all the time. And now, being the mother that I am,
Yeah.
right? As a divorced mom and having to do a lot of these things also on my own, but also having your help, right? And seeing how you just love on the boys and how much they love you and they get to see you. I wonder for them, and maybe that might be something to actually ask them. I wonder for them whether that's something that they will see the way that I did, right, as a child. But I've heard you tell them that you love them. I've heard them tell you that they love you, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm glad that we gave each other the chance to grow into this. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we did well.
And I've had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, experience. That's why it's grown
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Because first I didn't experience it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now I've had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
That's why I'm close with you and the kids,
Yeah.
the boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. We're gonna stop now before I cry because I just wiped. Okay. So your parents may not say I love you the way that you see on Instagram or on TikTok, the clock app, or on Facebook, but your parents crossed oceans for you. They left the comfort of their homes. They made a lot of sacrifices for you. And you're crossing emotional oceans for them. That is bridging. That is what we're here for. So next time we're going to, swing over to the child's side, a little surprise topic for us to talk about here. And I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. I hope that you're going to take some things from it and hopefully do something different too. I know I'm doing things differently, right? Because as a sandwich immigrant too, guess what? I'm trying to learn how to do some of these things as I'm also expecting them from my parents. And so I'm even learning how to say I love you more to my parents. And yeah, absolutely, it's awkward because I don't really hear that often, but I'll never forget sometimes when my dad would text me and he would say LUV, you. And I'm just like, okay, I see you, Pops, you're trying, right? Or he would just say LV. And, I'm thinking to myself, can you just say the words? Just say the words. I love you. No, but listen, it's baby steps, okay? So we'll take that, okay? Baby steps, all right? So I am Dr. Phebe, and this is me attempting to bridge the gap between our 2 generations, where we're living between 2 worlds and where love is multilingual, it's generational, and sometimes it's just wrapped in plastic on the living room couch. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next time. Remember to hit subscribe, remember to like, to leave a comment, and there's a chance to also send in comments if you would like to. Find me on Instagram at Dr. Phebe. You can send me a question or, at some point we would love to hear from you all. So thanks, and I'll be back next time. See ya.